Hey everybody, it's John, your co-host of Kindred Spirits. We've got another trip to the archives. This week we have our interview with Ashley Sanchez. This interview was fun, and also I referenced her rolling her sleeves up, and then it's something she never did ever again, except for maybe once or twice. So was it this interview that did this? I don't know. Maybe. Could be. You'd have to ask her, but I think it is. Enjoy this interview, and we'll be back next week with another Washington Spirit interview from the past. Welcome to RFK Refugees Podcast. This is the third episode of the week. Third episode of the week, which is a lot of episodes. So thank you if you've listened to all three. Very excited for this week's episode. We've got Ashley Sanchez of the Washington Spirit. Ashley, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Excellent season for you so far, and what counts as your first full season as a pro. How did last year's Challenge Cup, long gap, and then fall series help you prepare for a full slate of seemingly a million games in what is a full NWSL season?
I think it definitely prepared me because I was able to get some games under my belt, and that was really helpful going into a real season. I think I was just super excited last year to finally just get in a game, but we had some really good competition, and I think although it wasn't a full season, it definitely prepared me for what it was about to happen next year. So
the only bummer, right, is that you didn't have. I feel like the good thing that happens to rookies in the first full season is they hit that sort of wall. There's a lot more games than a college season, so you sort of get acclimated to that. But you didn't really get that. This is that year for you. So now you're going into the real thick part of the season in the heat, and now you're getting to do that now.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess.
Hopefully I won't hit that wall.
Yeah, you haven't hit it yet. So how are you carrying the heavy burden of the Future Legend Award from the Challenge Cup last year? Have you planned any sort of Hall of Fame speech? It's a heavy mantle to carry, I feel like, for any player.
No, honestly, after last year, I haven't really thought about it at all this year. So I'm a new year.
No,
real season. I think I'm just trying to get better than I was last year.
I just love the name of the award. They could not have picked a headier title for the award. Future GOAT, definitely MVP of the season for Future Legend. That's a great name for an award. You gave an interview, I think at the beginning of last year, that you enjoyed creating goals for others more than you like scoring yourself. Is this still true? And I ask because you are not shy to shoot. So far this season, you're certainly not. You're not wanting to score goals either. But do you still feel like that's secondary to setting somebody up?
Yeah, I think they go pretty hand in hand because the way I look at it is an assist is just as good as a goal. But I think going off of last Challenge Cup and into the fall series, Richie was just I would get in these spots where I would beat a player in a box or something, and then I would take an extra touch and it was just shoot the ball you had wide open, back post, near post, whatever. And so this year I was you know what, I'm just going to take some more shots and see what happens. So because I think I was just waiting for a perfect opportunity to take a shot, and sometimes it's you hit it and it goes in, and so obviously I still want to get some assists and stuff, and I feel I've been creating some good chances, but no one wants me to get an assist yet this year. So,
yeah, I remember what you were talking about sort of for last year. It would seem like you were beating two people off the dribble, and then you were like, I'm looking for a third. I'm in the box, but who else can I dribble past? Right, somebody come on me here so I can dribble past you. 3 goals so far this season. I think you've been robbed a number of times. You could have had probably double that. I think in one game particularly, I'm thinking of a certain goalie making a free kick save that's I will think about, and I'm sure you are. Are you enjoying sort of your role? You're sort of you're a focal point of the attack, even as a young player on a very good attacking team. I feel like the style and the tempo and the formation really benefits your strength. So what's that like being your first full season? But it's very much I am the fulcrum of where this offense goes, and it's got to feel good.
Yeah, I think last year they had me kind of on the wing, and obviously I like going and taking girls on, but I think at the same time I've always naturally felt like I drift into the middle. And so I think this year, Richie gave me the go ahead to he's like, I just want you to get on the ball and, make stuff happen. And I think it's been really enjoyable. And I felt like it's my most natural position. So it's felt really good so far this season.
This is the 9.5 role that he's talked about a couple times.
Yeah. 9.5, 10. I don't know. He switches it every
Numbers,
game.
Right? You're in the general middle of the field and you're going where the ball is, basically. So in an interview you did, I think, with Black and Red United before this season, you talked about not really being concerned about being double teamed. And it feels like the move instead has been, in some games, the defense triple team, that too. However many people they want to. But it also seems like it's, they'll overload the middle with another defensive midfielder and try to force the ball outside of the wings, try to keep it away from you. I'm trying to remember, there was a home game this year. It felt like you didn't have a touch until like the 35th minute. I'm not remember which game it was, but it seemed like they were very concentrating heavily on making sure.
I think it was Chicago at Segra.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Also kicking you a lot. I feel like your fouls suffered are kind of high.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that and stay mentally like sharp and focused as you see the game sort of being pushed away from you, and you can't really force it to yourself? You kind of wait till the game comes to you a little bit. How do you mentally handle that?
I think sometimes I still get a little bit frustrated because I'm like, why are they doing that? But I think Richie always says, you got to take that as a compliment. They're trying to put an extra defender or whatever just so you don't get the ball. But I think I've learned now that I just need to sometimes just go lower, get a touch, and just hopefully keep getting a couple little touches, and then maybe it'll open up and I'll be able to, grow into the game a little bit more.
That's another good thing that you're on a team with, multiple attacking dangerous players. Like you could be on a team where you are it. And there's no one else is going to make something happen. So at least you've got that going on, that eventually they'll be like, I don't think we can allow Trinity to just torch us down the wings the entire.
Yeah.
We might have to take one of those extra players and put them over there.
Yeah.
Speaking of Trinity, it's a question you get all the time. You guys are one of the best combos right now and creating goal scoring opportunities. Number one or number two. I'm not sure which after this last week, but very near the top. Why do you think that is? Is it just natural? Is it in a natural chemistry and sort of the way you guys complement each other, or is it, is it extra work in practice ahead of time, figuring out like, we're gonna get the ball in between us here. The 2-on-1 last week that should have been a goal is all. I said on the podcast last week, I was like, if you were the defender, I think it was Emily Fox, or I was like, you don't want to be that. Like that, you guys were running down on her. I was like, man, that's not where you want to be. That's the worst place in the field.
But I think it was pretty natural, honestly. Ever since like preseason camp, we were just kind of clicking. We knew where each other was going to go, or the runs that the other person was going to make. And that was even before we became like such good friends. And now it's like off the field, we are so close that now like on the field, it's translating even more. I think as the games continue, it'll get even better.
I know you are signed to Adidas, which as a non-athlete is like the coolest thing that I can think of. Just like crates of new gear as you ask for them. I assume you saw Rose Lavelle's New Balance boot earlier this year, her signature boot. And the question is, what sort of letter writing campaign do we need to get to Adidas to have you have a signature boot that you can design like Rose? Because there's a big market. I remember when the Rose boots came out, a number of journalists were like, they're copping them. They're awesome. What do we got to do?
Yeah. I mean,
tweet.
Hopefully, tweet at them every day.
We'll do that
every hour of the day.
There are Spirit fans that will do that on certain things. So I'm sure we can. I know a couple we can get on that.
Yeah, hopefully one day that'd be awesome. But right now, just chilling,
Just chilling, enjoying the stuff they send and getting to pick what you want. I'm sure that's still pretty good. I had a very dumb idea last week that I talked about needing sort of a USA 2 team from a national team perspective that competes in CONCACAF additionally, because there are too many players on the national team who could play an entire career just lighting things on fire, being NWSL best 11 potentially, just depending on their position, and never play internationally, never get an opportunity. Obviously that can't happen, but in my mind I'm thinking there's got to be a solution. There are too many good players. As someone who's been in U.S. camps in the past, and we've talked to Andy and Ashley about this season, in fact, how much does the national team sort of sit in your mind throughout the season as you're playing? And have you been in I know you were in contact with Vlatko at the last camp, who told you sort of what he was looking for you to do. What are those keys? Is it like what they told Ashley? That was like, just score more goals. We would just like you to score a lot of goals. She's like, okay, yeah, all right, sure.
I mean, obviously it kind of sits in the back of my head. But I think at the end of the day, I've come to the realization that, like, if it happens, it happens. And, like, that's all dictated of, like, how I'm playing. And I think it's easy to get caught up in, like, oh, there's another camp and I didn't get invited, or, and I think for me, I am still young. So it's like, I need to stop putting so much pressure on myself. But at the same time, it's like, I also do have aspirations to be there. So I think it's just like a healthy balance of, not getting too hard on myself, not getting too high, not getting too low. And I think that, like, when I'm in a good headspace, I play the best. So I feel like this year I've just been trying to just play well for my team. And, after the Olympics is over, hopefully there's a couple more cycles of girls that come in, and hopefully I'm one of them.
The Olympics, the Olympics may not dictate it, but I think USA 2 would probably do pretty well in CONCACAF. Yeah. I think they would.
But as for what he said, he just kind of was like, I think you're playing really well, but I think in the final third, you need to take those shots. You need to put people in dangerous positions to score. And I think that's probably one of the reasons that I'm shooting more. But yeah.
Well, you've had a good start of the season there, if that's the goal. That's for sure. When we interview young DC United players, we always ask questions like about the future. The answer is always Europe. I'd like to play in Europe. And I think it's somewhat different in the women's game, obviously, because you're arguably already playing in the top league from a talent perspective and a competition perspective. Maybe not a salary perspective, but the other two elements is certainly the top. Do you have long-term ambitions of testing yourself in different leagues, or are you just really focused? Obviously, not right now you're focused on where you're at, but is that something that's in the back of your mind, something you'd like to try later down the line, or?
I honestly haven't thought too much about it. I'm pretty like homebody-ish, and the homebody meaning like United States. But if I think in a couple of years, I think that I still need to develop more before I would do that. And I think also with the European leagues and teams and stuff, it's like there's 2 American players maybe. So I still have to be at that top level to be able to probably go to one of those top teams. But yeah, in the future, I think that would be pretty cool, especially because I think it was Tobin Heath and Kirsten Press jerseys sales were like insane last year. So yeah, I think that would be pretty cool.
That's the path to a Lambo, I think, is really the answer. Yeah. That's how it's going to happen. I appreciate you joining. I got one more question for you, just sort of a jokey question. You've got a pronounced preference for rolling your sleeves up real high. And even in college, that's been your move. Have you considered asking the equipment manager just to hook you up and just cut them off? Just either hem them at the line. Obviously, you got shirt sponsors that you got to deal with on there, but I know that's. I feel like that's a move of yours.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know why I do that. And people ask me all the time, like, why are you doing that? And I seriously don't know. It's just like kind of I think I feel kind of restricted, maybe.
Telling they got to cut the sleeves. The sleeves got to go. Cold, Spirit, cut the sleeves.
Yeah, even when it's cold, I still roll them. So I'm like, I don't know if it's a comfort thing or like, how little kids, they have like weird stuff they do. Like my nephew like rubs on people's ears. Like I think that's like my comfort thing. I don't know.
That's better than you rubbing on people's ears. If that's what it is, yeah. I think that's the way to go. Get a little weird. That would you'd have a hard time making friends on the team, I think, if that was your move. Ashley, thank you so much for joining the show. If people want to follow you on, so Tori Huster told us last time, if you want to help women's soccer, make sure you're following people on social media. That's the first thing that she's, other than buy tickets and buy jerseys and buy all that stuff. But where can people find you on? You're not on Twitter, right? I tried to find you to tag you in this.
No,
post.
I'm not on Twitter, but I am on Instagram. Ashley.Sanchez.
Easy to find. So make sure you're doing that,
everybody.
Don't
have a TikTok either or a Facebook. So.
Okay. Well, then you got one shot. If you're not on Instagram, you better make an account.
You only got one thing to follow.
That's right. Keep it simple. Thank you again for joining everybody for joining our 3rd episode of the week. This will come out, if I can edit it in time, hopefully Thursday night to our Patreons and to everybody else on Friday. If you're hearing this on Friday and you'd like to hear it earlier, go to patreon.com/RFK Refugees and join us that way. We look forward to some games this weekend. We'll have a show Monday night live, 8:30, as we always do, covering the games of the weekend. And we'll see you then. Vamos.